Welcome, 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 everybody, back to Brainstorm Brewery.
Do that again. Do that again.
Okay.
Welcome, welcome. What do you?
I was going for a thing like the Pro Tour because I was going to lead into talking about the Pro Tour, man, and I was going to let it play itself out, but you didn't let me finish. See?
No, keep it. It's fine. Let's just keep going. Let's roll with it.
All right. Anyways, now that Jason's ruined my intro, welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery.
You ruined your intro.
We get to talk all about Lantern Control. For best listening experience, I suggest slowing the podcast down to 50% speed and listening to us talk through the many lines of play of Lantern Control in the modern metagame.
Welcome to the Lantern and Podcast, where every week we spend about an hour talking about Lantern, its matchups, designing hypothetical cards that we wish could go in the Lantern deck.
Lantern is great. That is the best part about Lantern, is that think about a hypothetical card you want for it. They've already printed it. It's called Codex Shredder.
Yeah.
Like
that deck has a lot of weird one-ofs.
Somebody sat around in their R&D one night and were like, well, we have this weird art. You wanted to say
basement there, but you didn't.
Yeah, right. They sat around in R&D and they're like, well, we have this weird art. What do we do with it? I don't know. This is stupid. Let's just get abilities from the dartboard. And that's how you got Codex Shredder, and now Codex Shredder has won a Pro Tour. So shout out to Luis Salvato on Lantern Control for taking it down. And in honor of that, we have with us a guest tonight who was there for the very first discovery of Lantern Control, which he and I made together while scouring the top tables at Grand Prix Charlotte in early 2015. So Stybs, Adam Staborski of TCG Player, of Wizards, of Coverage, of lots of Commander things. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Was it Charlotte or was it Oklahoma City?
It was Charlotte because that's where we first discovered it when Zach Elsick made, I think, top 64 with it. Because this was back in the days when we would do a million different articles a day to GP, and one of the ones I was doing was rogue decks from throughout the room. So I just walked up and down the top tables, the top 50 or so tables in the middle of the day on Sunday, and I saw Codex Shredder on like table 15 or whatever.
Did you ever have a rogues deck in your rogue deck thing?
No, it's never happened, unfortunately. But that's how Lantern was discovered. It was just me walking up and down tables at a GP before anyone knew who Zach Elsick was, and discovering a Codex Shredder and being like, what the heck is this? So I took a picture of him with it, and Stybs was working that show with me. And then later in 2015 was Oklahoma City. Zach showed up and won the entire tournament with Lantern.
What?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the first time I looked at the list, I'm like, what does this do? Like, this does nothing. Like, I think I called it the Null Rod deck until we figured out, like, a better name for it.
You were right. It does nothing.
Yeah, I remember I settled on Lantern Control because, I'm a big fan of descriptive deck lists, and so are generally Wizards of the Coast and other places. So, one of the key cards in the deck is, of course, Lantern of Insight. Like, the deck just doesn't work without that card. And what does it do? It's a control deck. So I named it that, and I remember there was a voiceriferous debate on Twitter involving multiple pros about how that wasn't a great name for it because it could be confused with Chromatic Lantern, the super popular modern control card. And at the time and in context, I think the arguments were a little bit better, but yeah, that was kind of, and
that doesn't sound like that's going to generate a good argument ever.
Yeah, well. Here you go, everyone. You can blame Stybs. This is Stybs exercising the hidden power of the coverage writer. You're sort of invisible a lot of times in the background. You write stuff. You're not on camera all the time. People don't see your face constantly. But when it comes to deck names, they see your impact. I named Blue Steel.
Those guys were actually right, because when I heard Lantern Control, I thought it was Raito Lantern. So I think they're onto something. I
think my favorite one that I named that caught on a little bit was Blue Steel. Because, and again, another Zach Elsick deck here, showed up to Grand Prix Vegas with it last year, and this is the Grand Arbiter deck with a bunch of not inspired cards or improvised cards, or whatever the thing is where things cost less based on the number of
your artifacts and help you cast the spell.
It's called Affinity. It's called Affinity for Artifacts, Corbin.
Whatever, maybe it's, I don't remember. Whatever, maybe it is the. Gosh, whatever the word has. I don't remember. Whatever. I'm sorry. The stupid
That is
name.
improvised, Corbin.
Word
I
of
guess it's an
invention.
improvised deck. Yeah, but
You
I thought
improvised the name for that deck.
I thought it was the one that came on the card from like M15.
That's Convoke.
So maybe that thing is it's a mix. Whatever. It's a weird little deck.
Chief Engineer gives your artifacts Convoke. Is that
That's
what
what it is. Yes, that's what it is. 'Cause I knew it wasn't improvised, but I also knew it was something similar. But yeah, it gives your artifacts Convoke. So that deck spits out a bunch of artifact creatures and has Grand Arbiter or Grand Architect and does a lot of really cool stuff. And it's called Blue Steel because Zach came up to me and was like, "Hey, I have this deck. It's really cool. I'm doing well with it. Here's a couple names I have. Which one can you actually use?" So we sat down and worked with it. So it
And
worked out
Blue
pretty
Steel
well.
is the only one that didn't have like at least one racial epithet or.
Well, it was the
profanity.
one that described, again, because you have to vary between deck names that make sense but are also fun. And Blue Steel tells you what it is. It's a metal deck, right? It's an artifact deck based that's blue, and that was the only one that really just sort of blurred the line.
Does it
Yeah,
tell
the
you
rest-
what it does?
The rest were just cereal box names.
Yeah, essentially, right? But anyways, that is a hidden power.
We gotta be running out of cereal.
That's the hidden power of the coverage writer. So shout out Stybs for naming Lantern Control. It's all your fault.
Yeah, I like how it perfectly encapsulates the utterly boring and banal sense of dread and existential wonder that you have while your opponent fiddles with the top of your library for the rest of the game. I think the most succinct way I could put Lantern Control is it's one of those. It's a deck that's a marvel if you get how deep of a puzzle Magic is, because the entire goal of the deck is to remove any variance from the outcome of the game whatsoever. Like, it is literally
Yeah.
the anti-variance deck. So once it does its thing, there is zero variance for the rest of the game. And it's just unreal, because all of Magic is built around that.
Yep. I mean, I'm glad that the deck exists, but I'm also glad that it's not like a huge percentage of the metagame, right? Because
yeah.
if every deck was some variant of Lantern or some variant of like Amulet Bloom or some like crazy ass combo, then like Modern wouldn't be as interesting. But I'm glad that deck has its niche in the format as like a 2%er for those people who enjoy that sort of thing.
This is
Right.
why we need to bring back bullying, right? Like, if you sat down across from someone playing Lantern and you could pull the underwear up the crack of their ass until it ripped, they'd be like, you know what, you're right, and they would not play that deck. But since everything's so PC now and you can't bully somebody,
Lantern was 1.9% of the metagame at the Pro Tour.
That's
the
so many.
450 plus people playing there, trying to break the format, do the most degenerate thing they could possibly do to win matches. Lantern was played by 9 players, put one copy into the top 8, another into the top 16, and won the entire tournament. But it is very beatable. But I agree. Like, Lantern is, I really like it.
so are
I
Lantern
think it's-
players. That they're beatable. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
right? Yeah, I'm with you. No, I think Lantern, like you said, for the puzzle aspect, I mean, look at those cards in the deck. Like, they're just so bad, but it works. And it really is cool that it exists. It's not cool if it goes the way of Amulet Bloom and becomes dominant.
It's a pile of bad cards and then Ensnaring Bridge. Let's not pretend that all of the cards in that deck are bad, because Ensnaring Bridge is a very real card.
Well, Ensnaring Bridge is obviously the most broken, and discard and Ancient Stirrings, but the great part is the rest of it does work together. Like, Pithy Needle is actually very good. The Witchbane Orb, the Grafter's Cage, you get a main deck, and then the rest of them to mill people out. Like, it's just cool, right? And from a theoretical aspect, I definitely understand the arguments against it. People don't like playing against it. In my experience, if players, I don't understand why players, when your opponent has 3 Mill Rocks and a Lantern out, you're not going to win the game. You're like thousands to 1 to win the game. Just scoop.
Can I admit something to everybody? When we said at the beginning of the cast we were going to talk about Lantern, I went along with it because I thought we were joking. But, like, as the minutes tick by and you're still talking about Lantern, I'm worried that you were serious about spending the whole episode.
Probably not the whole episode, but this is all anyone's talking about. They're talking about whether or not you need to ban
Did
something
you hear that,
because
everybody?
it's just so bad.
Probably not the whole episode, so you may not need to swerve your car into a guardrail to make it stop.
I'm here for you. I mean, we can move on. The rest of the Pro Tour was really interesting, too. And basically, in my opinion, people should just stop complaining about Lantern and get good. If it becomes a dominant part of the metagame and it's taking over tournaments to the extent that something like Amulet Bloom was, then absolutely get back at me and we'll talk about it. But right now, a 2% of the field deck that you don't like losing against because it's slow, no different than Blue-White Control. There was a Blue-White Control mirror at the Pro Tour that literally ended by one player decking in turns. Game 1. Right? Lantern is not the slowest deck in the format, even. So, it's just the one that feels the worst to play against. But losing because you don't get to draw good cards is not functionally any different than losing because you drew your good cards and your opponent has 7 counter spells in hand because they're playing white-blue control. So, get good. But what about the rest of the tournament? I mean, Mardu Pyromancer top-8'd, Blue-Red Pyromancer top-8'd, Black-Red Hollow one. I mean, that's a rogue deck if I've ever seen one top-8'd. It was pretty great Pro Tour all around.
I mean, a lot of these decks are kind of been decks that have been on the radar for a couple months. Like I know Steve Rubin did was big on Black Red Hollow One. He did some numbers on that and took it to an event. Riley Knight, one of the commentators for Wizards, he's been big on Mardu Pyromancer. Had that was like his called shot. It went all the way to the finals. Can't get much better than that, really, other than Lantern.
Not losing to Lantern.
Yeah. I think the deck that really stood out to me the most was just how so many teams kind of independently found or settled on 5-color humans. Kind of like the full circle swing from, I remember way back when Wizards did the great creature type update, and basically they added creature types and humans were kind of a thing, and they're like, well, humans are everywhere, because of course they're on every plane for some reason, which makes 0% sense, but sure. And now it's come full circle where, whoops, when we give every block a couple humans with a couple abilities, it kind of adds up over time. And Kessig Malcontents becomes better at burn than burn. Like, really? Alright, something has gone wrong. Somewhere along the past 15 years.
Yeah, that's a burn at the stake every turn. That's dumb.
Yeah, the thing is, this is what happens when you take Magic and you put spells on creatures. You end up with a creature deck that can't lose to combo decks because every one of their creatures is incredibly disruptive. You're going to see more and more things like this, and they get such great mana fixing and so on. I mean, the deck is here to stay. I remember I did it on Mighty Modern back when it first came out because it was like, oh, this is a cool fringe deck that came about, and it's changed, a fair amount since then, as you would expect. But think about it. I mean, this deck literally played no interaction that was not a creature. It plays 4 Ether Vials and 37 creatures. That's not... there's not even paths here. You almost always see paths or Collected Company in a deck like this. It just doesn't need any of that because the cards are all just so dumb. Any one of them, when you look at it by itself, is completely fair and not broken, but when games are Kitesail Freebooter into Phantasmal Image on the Freebooter into Meddling Mage, into Thalia, into, Reflector Mage your guy, you just don't get to play Magic anymore. And I know everyone's going to complain about Lantern or whatever, but a good 5 colors humans draws keeps you from playing Magic just as much. Kills you faster, though.
The Lantern apologism is a bit much. Corbin says a deck and then says it's so much more unfair than Lantern. And then
hey man, I've spent all day because I released videos for Lantern on Monday on TCG Player. You can go check it out. But I spent a lot of time listening to people complain about Lantern today, and I don't know. This human deck's really cool. So financially, I guess Kessig Malcontents are the one to care about here, right?
Pick them out of bulk.
Yep.
I started doing it.
Yeah, me too. Ancient Ziggurat might have some more room to grow. Unclaimed
Tribal
Territory
lands really
seems like it's going to be a thing.
Anything you just declare humans on it and then it taps for 5 colors. Wasn't printed in an EDH set, I guess. So that's what, Ziggurat and then the thing from Ixalan block?
Yep. That is correct. There's also, a playset of Horizon Canopies in there, and Seachrome Coast was the only the one as well. So it's certainly very interesting, but I think, the other financially relevant things from this top 8 is the Black Red Hollow one stuff you pick out of your bulk, specifically. We talked about Goblin Lore last week, but, I mean, Burning Inquiry is probably going to end up going up because of this.
It already did.
So those are the kind of things you want to be on the lookout for sure.
Another piece of top 8 that stands out to me for like tech that makes sense in hindsight. I don't know if you guys have talked about Traverse the Uvenwald yet, but the idea of just a really powerful tutor that's really easy to set up in Modern, like that's not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Between Mishra's Bauble and Tribal, the Goblin Tarfire, that kind of stuff. I saw a 3-card graveyard, fire off a 1-mana tutor. That's really good, and with how good kind of base green decks can be, I don't think it'd be a stretch to see that kind of become an anchor.
Yeah, it's interesting that the Traverse Shadowless, the top 8'd, is sort of a throwback to the original roots of the Death Shadow decks. They started at Grand Prix Vancouver last year, which, side note, Merfolk made the finals of before losing to the deck. But it was where one team showed up with the deck, and they'd basically just broken Modern with this deck, and it just dominated. And it was Jund colors then. But Grixis Death Shadow has been the sort of prevailing version over the past 6 months or so. But yeah, this Traverse Shadow is sort of a throwback to the roots here. I mean, they're still playing blue for Stubborn Denial, and it's technically a 4-color deck, but it looks a lot more like those original, Jund Shadow decks than it does because it essentially is, right? I mean, it's playing Liliana, it's playing Tarmogoyf's Grim Flayers, a bunch of discard. It just has become a better mid-range deck than Jund has, essentially. And yeah, you're right. Definitely long-term of Traverse Ulvenwald is pretty bright.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
All right, so we've talked a lot about cards that are making appearances on Breaking Bulk, but now let's actually do Breaking Bulk with some new ones. Who wants to start us off?
I've got a red Mirrodin common, like the original Mirrodin. Red Mirrodin common. It's a creature.
A common creature? Atog.
Yes. Mirrodin.
Wrong.
Oh, boy. There were like 3 red common creatures in Mirrodin.
Yep.
I didn't play then. Swift Firewalker. It's an uncommon.
No,
that's an uncommon.
Uncommon. You joke.
My bad.
I can picture it. The art.
Can you?
Kinda.
What is it? What creature type is it, Jason?
It's the thing. It's the fire guy.
Is it?
The fire guy.
Yeah. What am I thinking of?
It's a 1/1.
So it's not a Tog.
Is it the 1/1 Goblin that when it's equipped it has double strike?
That is from Scars of Mirrodin.
Okay.
It is from Stars Mary.
Is it a Gobbo?
Yep.
Is it the Skirk? No, Skirk was the other block.
Sacrifice an artifact. Krark Clan Shaman deals 1 damage to each creature without flying.
Oh,
Krark
boy.
Clan Shaman, huh?
This is a Pauper Affinity sideboard card, mainly to deal with decks like Delver and Elves, because you just sort of, like, it's just a Pyroclasm effect. You just gotta, like, throw your Volta Whispers and then your Ichor Wellspring, and then you deal with their entire board.
So is this actually appearing in, like, buy list? Market price on this card is 19 cents.
Card Kingdom pays 16 cents the last time I checked a day or two
There you
ago.
go. That's a popper boom
And they're
right
willing
there.
to buy. It's not like, oh, we need like 5 or 6. They'll buy like 100. So
It's
you
Card Kingdom, man. Card
That's
Kingdom's
popper.
the best.
That's popper becoming a thing, I guess, at least for now.
They're making paper popper preparations.
So they are.
And I mean, this is a card that you're going to find in bulk. Like, you'll get your Mirrored in bulk.
Yes,
all the
absolutely
artifact
true.
lands will get picked out. All the, like, what's the card's name? Disciple of the Vault.
Name
will get
another
picked
card.
out. Frogmite, Mirror Enforcers, all that stuff's going to get picked out. But there'll always be Krark Clan Shamans.
Cards that are actually lower on a buy list than apparently Krark Clan Shaman.
Yeah, no kidding.
Frogmite
That's,
and Mirror Enforcer are not exactly hot.
When stuff emerges like that, the stuff they don't have, they gotta crank the heat up and pay 90% of retail, apparently.
And it's
Yeah.
got the good old goblin humor flavor text of, what do you mean we're out of stuff to melt down? Give me your leg.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
That's you, Jason. That's what you want to be.
I do want to write
the guy who
flavor
writes
text,
that.
but I don't know, man. I don't want to try writing jokes because it'll be like, we can't use any of those words.
All right, I'll go next here. I've got a Dragons of Tarkir red common. I imagine DJ will get this easily.
Dragons of Tarkir, red common creature?
It is not a creature.
Is it the, No, that's Temur Battle Rage is,
Fate Reforged.
uncommon. And Fate Reforged, yeah. That's lots of reasons why Temur Battle Rage, isn't it?
It's the,
Is it the dragon?
No, Dragon...
No, that's uncommon.
Yeah, the one that makes them cost less is also
That's
like
an
not...
uncommon, yeah.
Dragon
Draconic
Roar.
Roar is also an uncommon, if you're thinking of that.
What's also uncommon?
Roast is also an uncommon.
Yeah.
It is not any of those. DJ, I thought, would get this instantly.
I didn't play red much in that format.
Well, you wouldn't have ever played this card in Constructed or Limited.
Dragons of Tarkir, red common.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
This card is the only printing of this card, and it is on its way up in price, as a matter of fact. All right. Impact Tremors.
Oh, yep.
Oh!
Yep.
Oh, wow. I was just looking at that card today and thinking about buying some foils, because Impact Tremors is nuts.
Yeah, it's
No,
actually
you're right.
climbing up. I don't know if this is a popper pick or not, but...
No,
No,
it's
that card's
EDH.
not played in Pauper.
It's EDH for sure.
Well, it's interesting because the price is going up. It's actually, the market price on this is $1 right now.
Yeah.
And that
I
seems
just
to be a
listed those
fairly
for 50
recent
cents.
climb.
What?
I don't know why I didn't pick up on that one.
Yeah, I thought you'd get it. I thought you would
No,
get
like
it
I
first.
picked those out of bulk all the time. I just
I
couldn't
know.
think of the card.
Oh, that's how this game goes most of the time. We
Oh,
recognize
'cause
stuff by the art. And
They're
not,
50 cents on other websites. That's why I'm surprised they're dumb. But yeah, Impact Tremors is nuts, man.
I mean, the market price on it's $1, so it's a real thing.
Well, maybe I'll buy out the other website. I mean, I would never do that.
All right, Jason, what do you got?
I got a card that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 printings, and
That's a
they're
lot of
all
printings.
pretty close to $1. The very first printing is about $9, and it is an artifact, originally printed in the dark.
The Dark.
The dark.
Tormod's Crypt.
No,
That's a good guess. though.
it was a good guess. And DJ's next
Felwar
guess
Stone.
of Ashnod's Altar. Oh, yeah, DJ got it. It's Felwar Stone.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Card
I
is
had to do
randomly
like a quick
expensive.
mental checklist, but yeah, Felwar Stone is definitely. Also, the 9th edition foil of that is like $70.
Yeah, because it was the only foil ever.
Yep.
Because it was all printed in Commander sets, with the exception of 9th edition, and then it was in 4th and 5th. And the Dark, none of which had foils. So yeah, that's you got to foil that. It's pretty hard to come by. It's a real great EDH rock, because chances are somebody's got a land that can produce the mana you need. So Felwar Stone's just really hanging in there, and the Dark one going way up to almost $9 is pretty cool too. I got a few of these in a collection. I was sort of like, oh, that's a great uncommon to run across in my dark bulk, quote unquote. So, Felwar Stone's always it's always a pick. It's dumb. It can get reprinted 3 more times. It'll still be a pick. Great card, great bulk. Pull it out. I know it looks unassuming, but if you've ever played in EDH, you're like, yeah, every time I play a game at EDH, I see someone at the table with a Felwar Stone. Yank it. Pull it out of your bulk.
All right, Stybs, you said you didn't have a pick to play with us in the game, but you said you want to champion a card, so you want to tease us on it, see if we can guess it or no?
Yeah, so this, I'll put it this way, this should be a dead giveaway. This was the original Sakura Tri-Builder.
Oh, Yavimaya,
Yavimaya Granger.
That's right. So this card, I don't know why it hasn't risen in value just off of like random commander shenanigans. It's only been in one printing. It's never been reprinted outside of Urza's Legacy. So the foils are really hard to come by. Still the commons are, just because there's not that much Urza's Legacy bulk floating around. But basically, it's a turn 3 Sakura Tri-Builder. Like, it does everything you want to do. It comes in, it finds you a basic land, it puts it on the battlefield tapped. Actually, it does that right away, which can be helpful in conjunction with cards like some of the green ones that like double the lands you have. Like, go find a land for each land you have. Or,
and then it dies because no one's ever paid the echo cost on a Yavimaya Granger.
correct.
Or it dies when you block with it.
Or it dies when you block with it, or it dies when you sacrifice it to some other effect. So it's actually in black-green sacrifice decks, it's better than Tribe Elder because you get both effects for just 1 more mana, and in decks that just want another Tribe Elder, something say, hey, just get this, get a land and get a creature card in my graveyard. It does that too. It's one of my go-to cards in Commander. I think it's a really, really good kind of common. I'd like to see that card take off someday because I think it deserves a little more attention than it gets for reasons.
I like Yavimaya Elder in that spot, even though that's a little more mana intensive.
I mean, it's certainly more value. I'm a big fan of redundancy, so my argument isn't replacing Elder, but more like in addition to. Like, especially if you're like doing like a 3DH and you want a really tight budget, that's kind of one of the really great ways that you can kind of get around Elder actually having some value. It's like quarter or 50 cents. Like, Granger's still a dime for the most part.
Huh.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever actually played that card.
Primal Growth. That's another card that a lot of people don't know about.
Primal Growth and Corrosion Restore and Far Wanderings too. While we're on that train,
Far Wanderings.
Far Wanderings is cool, but Primal Growth I like as a sack outlet plus.
I played Primal Growth in Safra for like the entire time I've had that deck, and I don't know why more people didn't play Primal Growth. It brings them in untapped too.
2 of them untapped.
Every time people asked what that card did, I said it's Harrow, but I sack a creature instead, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, Far Wander. And how hard is it to get a Threshold? Far Wanderings is pretty nuts too. Up
Far
to
Wanderings
3?
is good. I know that one.
Yeah, it's up to 3 basically, and it's tapped. It's yeah, man. Some of these cards, and everyone's like, "Doubt we play Cultivate because that's what my grandpappy played in EDH, and it's good enough for my grandpappy. It's good enough for me."
Sure, fair enough. All right, so let's move on. We have this devoted to emails and questions, but I figure I'll put you a little bit on the spot here, Stybs. Do you have any questions or concerns or anything you want to toss at us here to chat about? I just want you to know if you want to talk Buffalo Wild Wings, I am here to do that.
No.
Oh,
I'm not going to talk
okay,
about
Merfolk?
Wild Wings. No. What?
Okay. Well,
I barely.
all right, man. I
Lantern.
tried. I don't know.
Why would I talk about Merfolk?
Why would anybody? Why would anybody make that part of their identity? They'd be like, "I'm the guy that's known for Merfolk."
Oh man. All right.
At the cost of being just an absolute shill, because hey, I'm a company man and I'm a shill. What do you guys think of all the the ability to add photos to listings on TCG Player now? Like, it's kind of like eBay and other marketplaces have had that for a while, and it's kind of like feels a little overdue. Is kind of like the sense I have from a lot of the community, but I didn't know like what you guys kind of thought of it.
I think I wrote an article on this somewhere.
I remember.
Nobody read it.
Yeah.
Even
I might have
Stybs
edited
didn't read
that
it.
article.
Even Stybs didn't read it. That's
What are your thoughts,
harsh.
CJ? We haven't talked about it a ton on the show here.
I think it's really useful. I mean, listing high-end cards on TCG Player has been one thing I have avoided doing in the past because you definitely don't want to get into a condition discrepancy. You don't want to like risk thinking, oh, this might be LP, this might be MP, and
as a buyer or seller, you don't want to get into that discrepancy.
I mean, either, right? Like, if you're a buyer, you don't want to. I mean, you're less likely to go on and purchase a lightly played Mox Jet or whatever for $1,200, $1,300 because lightly played means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and you don't want to drop that much money and then have the card come in the mail and say, well, this is worse than I was expecting. And as a seller, you don't want to get that message of, hey, this is worse than I was expecting, and then have to work out some sort of difference in condition or difference in price based on expectations, and it was just like a big hassle. So being able to say, this is what the card looks like, this is what you're getting, this is what you're paying up front, I think it's really useful.
Also, this is what damaged means.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what a lot of my article focused on was damaged cards that are like super, super, super damaged. One of the examples I used was a Stroke of Genius that's effectively just ripped in half, but it's still kind of hanging in there. But if you, yeah, I think it's great. But it's damaged to the point where if you put it in a double sleeve and put it in a commander deck, number one, nobody can tell that it's damaged, and number two, like, it's fine to play in a, like, it'll still cast it for 155 with your Melek deck or whatever, and you'll kill somebody with it. I have Gonti Mana Rocks that are just, like, Sharpie to hell and looks like somebody paid them on a gravel driveway for 6 weeks. And if I ever get rid of that deck, you can list those on the site, because I think most people's expectations of damaged are it has some water damage, it has some inking on it for, like, unlimited cards maybe, but damage shows you can get exactly what you want for it. And then with signed cards, you can just say, like, I mean, if I buy signed cards, if I bought, like, a signed playset of Liliana the Veils, I say, hey, these are damaged. The person might want more for them when they're selling a collection, but I have to say, hey, these are worth less. They have ink on them. I know it's Steve Argle's signature. I know what that looks like, but if I want to list these on TCG, they are damaged. And now I can pay that person more for those cards because I have an out for them. I can say, hey, these are Steve Argle signed. I can put that in the listing. I can put them on the site. I can even put them as a playset if I want to. If I get that playset in, I can put, hey, Liliana of the Veil, Steve Argle signed playset, $500, and I can put that listing up there, and then somebody can choose to make that decision on whether or not they want to purchase it. So I think it's really cool for a lot of those niche, obscure cards. I don't think it turns the marketplace upside down. I don't think it's like the revolution that topples eBay or whatever, but I mean, it's a nice option for those of us who are already selling on TCG Player, and I definitely have some obscure, niche, unique cards in my personal collection that I'll be able to make some money off of now.
I think looking from the outside perspective, there are a lot of people who use the high-end Facebook group who now you don't necessarily, like DJ said, you can get all the outs on TCG Player because they sort of seem to be filling, you know, every niche that they didn't previously have. They have the buy list on there now, etc. And I mean, you know, I think in theory it means that people have reasons to be on there for whatever it is they're looking to do in the market, and that's a good thing for the website. And, you know, it works out hopefully ultimately to be in the benefit of players. But, you know, hey, hashtag corporate shill. Jason, you've never shilled anything, right?
That's true. See, I'm not affiliated with TCG Player. Neither is this podcast. We're actually independent of all sites like TCG Player, and we're actually funded by our own Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery, you can be eligible for some of our merch, like this handsome drinking glass, or a playmat, or some tokens, or access to our Discord server, where you can tell Corbin that he's a shill right to his dumb face, and he'll just have to take it. For as little as $1 per month, which is 20 or 25 cents an episode, you can have access to the Discord. And you can have our announcements early. There is a big shilling-related announcement coming very soon. I know we keep saying that it's coming very soon, but we're just waiting.
We're waiting. We're not waiting on us, but we are waiting.
We're not waiting on us. But once a deal is inked and my feet are off the ground when I poop, we'll let you know.
We have what amounts to a handshake deal.
It may be related to when I asked Corbin about talking about Squatty Potty, and Squatty Potty liked my tweet mentioning Corbin and Squatty Potty.
Look, guys, I'm not saying buy a Squatty Potty. I am saying buy a Squatty Potty, but not yet. Not yet.
You have to wait until we have an official link to send you to, so that we actually get credit for selling you a Squatty Potty, and therefore they continue to sponsor the show.
Not that we're announcing that we're in partnership with Squatty Potty.
We are waiting for the paperwork to be finalized, as it turns out. But
fingers crossed that they just don't listen to this episode and hear our entire game plan.
They have
like, hey, let's check out that.
We've never discussed our entire game plan. Our entire game plan is way sneakier.
Yeah, that's us. Yeah, lots of deep, sneaky thoughts going into this, and not just me wanting to know what the hype about a Squatty Potty is.
You get your feet off the ground, right?
The hashtag MTG Finance.
So then
moving into the
1
market.
inch
Watch out.
of standing water in your outhouse doesn't get on your socks, right, Corbin?
I mean, I guess that's a good point. I'd have to. Does that mean when I go to the outhouse, though, am I in my socks? Am I hopping? What's my game plan there?
I don't know what your game... Look, dude, I don't know your life.
I'm
just assuming that you go out to the outhouse carrying a candle with a long nightgown and one of those big floppy hats and your socks, and then you're like, darn, there's an inch of water here.
Well, I've also got, like, my 6-shooter at my side. That way, in case any of the coyotes get too friendly, I'll be able to scare them off.
Yeah. You don't have to shoot at him. You just fire one in the air and say, get!
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the coyotes aren't going to mess with you unless they're like real hungry, but they're pretty chill. But you do need to necessarily, scare them off sometimes. They get a little too close for comfort while you are trying to poop in comfort thanks to your squatty potty.
That's right.
I mean, while you poop in comfort, you got like old Dan and Little Ann by your side to fend off the
What?
scary beasts.
No one takes people to poop with them.
I do want to jump in here. I've stayed
Dan and
over-
Ann are dogs, you Philistine.
It's a,
Read
it's
a book.
Jesus Christ.
I got it. Read a book, Corbin.
Is that from a book?
Yes,
Where the red fern grows.
Oh, isn't that sad? Don't the dogs die in that?
Well, don't spoil
Spoiler
it for people, but yeah, they
Look,
definitely
I
die.
hate things where dogs die, man. I
No,
I
don't.
never
It's not.
watched
It's
Old
nothing
Yeller.
bad. One of the dogs just kind of dies of a broken heart. It's not that bad.
No,
I mean,
what
the other
doesn't
one's
one of
torn to
them get
shreds
killed?
by a bobcat.
No, one of them gets killed
Was
by
it a
an
bobcat?
animal.
I thought it was a bear.
I read
It
that
was a
book in
bobcat.
school, man.
Okay, I haven't
One-
read that book since I was in like fourth grade.
One of those dogs gets killed by a wolf or something.
It was a bobcat.
Yeah,
Okay.
man, shut up. That's
Torn to shreds. But the other one just kind of died because he was like, "Oh, I'm sad."
depressing, man. Why would you go there? Thanks, DJ. Asshole.
Anyway, Stybs was trying to say
Talk
a
about
thing.
something besides dead
Hopefully he
puppies.
forgot, so we can move on. What were you gonna say?
The moment passed. I do have a follow-up question though. That is not hashtag corporate shill,
Alright.
which I think I would nominate as perhaps the name of this episode. Is so I play a lot of Commander, and I love Commander, and I know you guys talk about.
What's that?
Commander
Is
every
it
now
like
and then.
EDH?
Yeah, talk about Commander. So what I wanted to ask was, a lot of people talk about Modern, right? Like, oh, Modern prices are crazy, or Magic prices are crazy. They need to get them under control, and the prevailing, Twitter wisdom, hashtag no, is they should just do reasonable reprints, and Wizards can just magically somehow control an entire market of demand just by controlling supply perfectly with imperfect information. So what would it take to get Commander prices to not be crazy? Like every time I go through
What's
my
crazy?
old
What's crazy? Which card?
like like foil copies of some of the commanders, older commanders that are hard to find. Cards like Soul Ring that have been reprinted into Oblivion are still worth more than they should be. I don't know. I just feel like it's really hard to understand the price of certain cards because
Chromatic Lantern, for instance.
yeah, like Chromatic Lantern, I think is a great
$15.
example of just a card that's been reprinted and it's still just bonkers. Like what would Wizards need to do to help push Commander to be more accessible in the way that players keep asking Wizards to push Modern to be accessible? I guess that's kind of my question.
I think that. Go ahead, DJ.
I think one of the hardest parts about that for them is the fact that their easiest way to print Commander cards is put them in Commander decks, right? So the easiest way for them to put more Soul Rings in the market is to put a Soul Ring in every deck. But when you do that, every person that buys that deck, unless they are shredding it, is keeping that Soul Ring in that deck. So you might add 50,000 Soul Rings to the market, but if 45,000 of those players are keeping the deck together and adding more cards because Commander players don't usually take apart decks. You have just people buying new decks, so one person can have 3, 4, 5 decks, and that's a normal thing. Those Chromatic Lanterns that are added to the market from the Atraxa decks, every Atraxa player, they need a Chromatic Lantern too. So a lot of these cards aren't actually being added to the market, even though they have reprints. So Soul Ring has 8 reprints over the past 8 years. It's in all 5 decks every single time. But its price has stayed $3 for the past 8 years because almost all those reprints just get
Because
stay in the
who's
decks.
popping that deck open and not just using?
Well,
the
and
Soul
also
Ring?
because if you're a player who needs a Soul Ring, sometimes it's easier to just pay $3 for one when you're buying the rest of your cards than it is to dig one up. That's also a thing. But I think, to me, something like Soul Ring is not a problem. I understand maybe we want Soul Ring to be $1, but they actually just can't do more than put it in every Commander deck every time. Like that's just a reality of the format, and I think that's not a problem. I think something like Chromatic Lantern being $15 is more of a problem.
Yeah,
and
there's cards like Phyrexian Altar that are just like obscene.
Yeah, because the stuff gets to the point where you can't even really reasonably jam it. You can't put Exquisite Bond in a Commander deck for lots of reasons.
Blood, but yes.
Exquisite Blood, yeah.
Exquisite
Bond
Bond is
has
the
been
combo.
reprinted down to $1, But Exquisite Blood, they're like, oh, it's $22. I don't know what we do about it.
Well, they
Like,
actually punted that one really hard because they put Sanguine Bond at uncommon into Eternal Masters or Iconic Masters, whatever it was. 1000% that should have just been Exquisite Blood. But you're right. That kind of stuff is a problem because they can't put it into Commander sets because of the price. But to answer the question, core sets are coming back. That's the answer.
Yeah, and I think that Wizards has done a decent job of chopping down on certain foil versions of certain commanders. Like Zur the Enchanter was a $50 foil from Cold Snap, and then it got a Modern Masters 2017 printing, and now foil Zurs are $1 or $2.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. And again, to me, foils are also kind of whatever because they're just nice to haves. Yeah. Something like Chromatic Lantern basically perfectly encapsulates the problem to me. But core sets are the answer because you can put, I don't know about maybe Chromatic Lantern especially, but you can easily put Exquisite Blood at rare into a core set. Those don't need to be, I understand the core set is really interesting because everyone sort of was on board with redesigning them back in M10 and then just getting rid of them entirely later. Everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense. Core sets just kind of suck. But it turns out they just plugged a lot of gaps. Not only did they put cards into standard you just needed, like say Pithing Needle or whatever, or Duress or what have you, but also they just gave you this reprint avenue that doesn't exist because stuff like Modern Masters has to be driven in part by you can't put too good of stuff in there or it costs too much and players can't get it, and you can't put too little in there because then people aren't paying for the stuff. And you can't put them in these pre-constructed products because they can't go over the MSRP by too much, or then people will just open them and crack them, and the players who want them can't actually get them. And there's all these sort of, I don't know if arbitrary or artificial are the right words, but all these constraints on a lot of the traditional reprint avenues that we know that they have. And the core set's kind of the perfect answer there. No one's going to complain about an Exquisite Blood being $20 at rare or $10 in their core set. And they were good at that for a while, right? We got Darksteel Forge was in one when that was an expensive card. A Chroma's Memorial. Like they had one or two mythic spots set aside a year to basically reprint expensive commander stuff, and that's basically the only thing I can see moving forward that sort of solves a problem that we didn't already have a route to solve.
Yeah, like Phyrexian Altar can be a rare in a core set.
Yeah. Well, they're inventing stuff like Explorers of Ixalan, too. Like, they have relief valves, but the problem is there are so few eligible $25 plus card slots.
Right. And Mythic,
it's not all reserve list stuff. It's all stuff that's on the pseudo reserve list just because where do you put it? And I think it was a mistake not doing another Commander's Arsenal. Like, I realized they want that price point to be anthologies because that brings more prices down. But those Commander's Arsenals were just gone. Like,
those are aside, with how poorly received the holiday box was, I would love to see a twist on that was basically like, take a solid card from Standard, Fatal Push, take a solid card from Modern, I don't know, Path Exile,
Fatal Push,
something like that. Yeah, you know what I mean. Take a solid card from like Commander and like make like a little mini like package, like booster packs. 3 cool reprints that are actually like relatively valuable, but perhaps already have promos out there, aren't too crazy in value, and make it a nice little gift pack. Like, cool, you get a unique promo version of a useful cards, you get booster packs, and it doesn't feel like you're getting garbage.
Well, yeah, the thing is, and basically this goes to some probably high-level discussions at Wizards as who is this product meant for. And the holiday box was meant for somebody's mom to go buy their nephew who they heard likes Magic, right? I mean, that's what that was made for.
Otherwise, you were getting deck builders.
Right. Well, that's what it was.
Magic for 20 years got deck builders toolkits from relatives at Christmas.
Right. Exactly. Well, and that's the thing is that's what the holiday box, in my opinion, I think was for. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, in a level like that idea of what Stybs just mentioned. Like that sounds cool. But I think it's aimed at a different market than say the holiday box was, because holiday box is aimed at your Walmart crowd, and the Walmart crowd is probably not your I want a really cool version of Ristic Study crowd. I'm not saying it's not, but that person's probably already found their way to an LGS already. But yeah, I mean, somebody buying a random Magic product for $20 or $30 for their nephew for Christmas, that's what the holiday box was aimed at. That's what the Deck Builders Toolkit was aimed at. I think that they're finally at Wizards starting to do a better job of identifying what products are for what players and trying to make it more clear where those products go, because they've had so many things over the years, and I've been playing for a decade, and I'm sure this problem goes back longer, where they just sort of they come up with an idea and they do it and they throw everything against the wall and they see what sticks, and there's not really a driving plan behind it of we want this at this, this product at this player group and this product at this player group. And they did a big WPN update last year, maybe a little before that, that really broke down, enfranchised player, casual player, etc., whatever their levels were, to start aiming things at the right direction. So hopefully that they're able to refine that sort of thing and make these products for who wants them. Because like the idea of Stybs pitch like that sounds really cool. I would love for that to be something that was available on LGS to give people. But it's probably a slightly different crowd.
Sure. But I mean, I think they will invent new ways, and I think the core set's going to be a nice relief valve on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
You can smash a $20 rare into a $1 rare overnight.
Yeah, I mean, you're at the very least, here, JJ can pull up the chart for you, but I'm going to go look at it because this is Darksteel Forge. I think was a really good example of what you can do to those. No one was upset that they opened a Darksteel Forge in Magic 2014. That was a $15-20 card before, I think, in Darksteel.
You were pretty upset if you opened that in a draft.
Sure. Yeah, this is my Mythic, not a Planeswalker. But yeah, Darksteel Forge on January 6, 2014, after it was printed in the summer before it, the market price on it was $1.70.
Yep.
And it's now back up to $7.50. And that's a card that was $20 before. And you can repeat that with a bunch of different stuff.
Platinum Angels was M13.
You're right. Platinum Angel was one there too.
Door of Destinies M14.
Yeah, those are the things they need to get right, and that's what.
I think I think there's no way they don't know.
Well, not now that they listen to this podcast and we fix all their problems.
Now, if they listened to me, they would have reprinted Phyrexian Altar in a EDH deck when it was 15.
Yeah,
and not 35. So.
All right. Anything else, Stybs, or should we move on and pick of the week?
We got emails?
Okay, let's read an email.
This is a nice email from a patron. Price Convergence Iconic Masters from Travis Hilly. Hey guys, do you think we'll see a price convergence on cards from Iconic Masters like Flusterstorm, Grove, Horizon Canopy, or Ancestral Vision with their earlier printings? Some of these have new art as well. I'm not sure what to think considering the new art isn't iconic despite what the set is called. Some cards like Vial and Thoughtseize are fairly close, and some are downright destroyed in price like Mishra's Bauble. P.S. I took Jason's advice on trading for banned cards and then selling into the unbanned hype. I'm the proud owner of a pile of Blood Braids that have doubled in price in the last month. Thanks for all you guys do.
Yeah,
Sent from my subspace transceiver.
Ooh,
I don't know if that's a reference to anything.
Thanks, DJ.
That's from
you are the authority on what's a reference to what, after all.
Sent from my Chica Salte.
The one thing that DJ might be an authority on in references is video games, specifically children's video games, and he couldn't even get that one right.
Hey,
well, we learned that Corbin, with his liberal arts degree, isn't a guy who gets references to books. So
I'm good at Fire Emblem, Pokemon, and sometimes
cares.
Yu-Gi-Oh, but that's it.
Those aren't even video games; those are second jobs.
Fire Emblem's a video game.
Pokemon is just like a part-time job that doesn't pay anything.
I mean, I don't think we'll see... Like, these cards all have their own different, unique reasons as to why they crashed or why they didn't crash, right? Like, Flusterstorm was only obscenely expensive because of Japanese arbitrage where copies were being shipped over to Japan because there's a huge legacy scene in Japan. So it made a lot of sense for vendors to pick them up for basically retail in the United States at GP events and then fly them over to Japan. Horizon Canopy and Grove were cards that were just insanely expensive because they were from Future Sight. Ancestral Vision being sort of the same thing with Time Spiral. But then like Thoughtseize had a reprint already in Theros, so it wasn't exactly like that card was getting crushed from 10 to 5, but that card's art was super iconic, so that's the reason why the new quote new Thoughtseize is 15 while the Theros one's like 11 or 12. So I mean, I don't think Flusterstorm specifically is going to converge back up with its old one because the old one is still like what 40 or 50 due to price memory.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Price
nobody's
memory
paying.
is propped on the basis of just...
Yeah, but like that's what the listed price memory is, based on the fact that those copies were selling for that from before the reprint. So it's not like there's basically nobody out there who's like, well, I guess I'll pay triple the price for that different set symbol. Like nobody's doing that. So like Flusterstorm's not gonna converge with its older set, but like Thoughtseize could, because I mean that art's iconic, and I think there's a lot of people willing to chip out the extra $3 per copy just to get the better art. But I mean, I don't think it's something to do with Iconic Masters as a whole. I think it depends a lot more on the reason why the card was expensive in the first place.
How many times the Iconic, like, is it its first reprinting, its third reprinting? Right. Like, you got to compare apples and oranges, and so many of those cards that you listed have just so many different circumstances.
Yeah, like
what original set they were in. Yeah.
Vial was Dark Steel from the Vault Modern Masters, but the art wasn't new. It was the Modern Masters one. And so the price didn't really change that much because, again, it's a playset card. It's a card
that... It's a 4 of, and Flusterstorm's not. Stuff like that.
So people who are opening vials are like, well, I guess I need 3 more now. So the demand outpaces the supply to a certain extent. Whereas Flusterstorm, most people who are opening one are like, I can trade this for parts of a Aether vial. So,
or just get one more and then I'm done with my Flusterstorms.
Yeah, I don't think that we'll overall see a price convergence. Like, I don't think that Iconic Masters tanked all of the cards in it to an extent where we will see a overall rebound on the set. Because a lot of the reasons that certain cards in the set crashed were just because they were low supply that were hard as hell to find. Like, Mishra's Wobbles were impossible to find. Now they're not.
Also, that set was mostly good to buy boxes or play limited. And as the box price increases and nobody drafts it anymore, are you going to pay $10 for a lotto ticket that could be a bulk rare? Like, buying just a loose pack of that is miserable. So the fact that, like, you know, no one's really buying boxes and no one's drafting that anymore means this stuff's not really getting opened as much at this point, too.
All right. Okay, let's do some picks of the week, guys. I've actually got an interesting theory I want to run by you when we do this.
You actually have one?
We're doing it right now.
Yeah.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
I'll go ahead and start. Well, I mean, I'm just saying when we get into it here. But I'm going to go ahead and start then.
We're into it.
Okay, great. My pick is Savala's Stampede from Conspiracy Take the Crown.
Oh, wow. It's been at least 5 weeks since that was my pick.
Great. So here's the thing I want to talk about, though. And this is one that really illustrates the point well, but there's another as well, and it's Arcane Denial from Commander 2016 if you want me to give a different pick. But what I'm noticing here is on MTG stocks, you know, you might know, obviously there's TCG median, it's always been used forever. There's also TCG market price, which is a more recent development. It's just a few months ago that MTG stocks started using the market price and charting it out. And looking over cards and doing some research on this, it seems to me what we have, when you compare the two lines, the median and the market price, we essentially have a record of volume that we never had in the past. And it reminds me a little bit of, at the risk of, you know, triggering people by mentioning it, cryptocurrency, where there is a lot in, you know, actual stock market trading where you can read a lot into the volume lines of things to determine whether they're underpriced or overpriced or whatever. But let's look at, for example, Arcane Denial. The price of the card at the beginning of November 2017, the median was $2.30. The median of it now is $2.80. So it's really not that much of a change. However,
that's 20%. That's not that bad.
Right. Sure. But if you look at the market price on it at the same chart, at the end of November, beginning of December, it was $1.50, and now the market price on it is actually $3. So, yeah, one's 20% and one's a double up. So think about it. When we're looking at this and you're trying to determine this, I think that in some ways, looking at the graph of the market price in comparison to the median is almost like a volume line. So you can see how much of it is being bought and sold, because the market price is more reflective of some of that day-to-day trading than necessarily the median, where you have all the cards at the top end sort of balancing it out and never changing in price, etc., as the market price creeps up to it. And the same with Arcane Denial, and you can just see it. It starts off where the market price will be lower, and then it heads up and it converges, and then it can shoot up, and they both go up together. And the same thing with something like Mishra's Bauble from Iconic Masters is maybe the note with the new Lantern builds becoming popular over the past month or two, is you can see the same thing where the market price, the median on that card has changed basically not at all, but the market price has steadily risen. And I really think that taking those two things in conjunction together, not just using the market price, because that'll show you a growth, but also using it alongside the median price when you're looking at the charts, can really tell you what is or isn't undervalued. Because if they're growing at the same pace, then okay, that's fine. But if one of them, basically the market price is really starting to catch up, then it means the card is likely undervalued in terms of like the median, right? It means that it's due for a jump more so than it's holding steady. So
because like the only thing that hasn't sold are the most expensive copies at that point. When the lines converge, basically the only copies for sale are the most expensive copies.
Right. And it's just, people notice if they have a certain price set, you sort of just get trend down at the bottom, or churn down at the bottom, right? Where cheap copy sold, cheap copy gets listed. But if that price starts to climb more rapidly, and certainly more rapidly than the median price,
then you're not getting cheap copies backfilling your demand.
Right, exactly. It's climbing up. It's like I said, it's almost like the first indicator of volume that we've ever had in Magic Finance, and I think that's a big deal.
It's basically their convergence is like a rating of the attractiveness of the most expensive copies.
Right, and you know, it tells you like it's something we've never had access to until basically in November, when MTG Stocks, which is the best place to look at historical pricing data, included the market price alongside the median price, and that's just something I've noticed over the past few weeks. You know, looking over graphs, I think there's a lot to take away from this and learn from moving forward.
There you go. Sometimes Corbin vomits into a sink, and then sometimes he vomits out incredibly relevant financial data on this podcast.
It's weird, right? It's a hit or miss, yeah.
That's his observation of 2018.
Yeah, I'm good for the year. I'm going to coast.
Sometimes he regurgitates Buffalo Wild Wings. Sometimes he regurgitates my old picks of the week. But hey, I called Selvala Stampede in 2017. It's a new year. And
hang on, I got the spreadsheet open. Let's find...
Yeah, I want to hear. Jason also thinks that...
The last time Jason called Selvala Stampede as a pick of the week was June 11th in 2017.
That's what I thought, man. Come on. 6 months ago. It's starting to move now. This is just like, you have to put it into old man time, Jason.
So 6 months ago is long enough for...
It's like 8 months. Like June was like 8 months ago, wasn't it?
Okay.
Yes. 8 months ago to Jason is a month or two. That's old man time for you right there.
Well, hey, I grabbed my wife's sister's boob at Thanksgiving, and she's still bringing it up. So you say only going to sweat that out for 2 or 3 more months? Good.
Okay.
Almost out of the woods.
All right.
Good. I got one. Do we do the guessing game on this?
No, Jason, we do not do the guessing game on this, and we never have.
We can if we want to.
Okay. It's been printed in...
I'll guess.
Return to Ravnica and Explorers of Ixalan. It's a black creature.
I'm sorry, what? It's a black creature from Marvel's
It was a mythic in Return to Ravnica.
Oh, Necropolis Regent.
Yeah, see, I knew DJ get it. Necropolis Regent is down to like $3.
I was looking at that, actually. It is a good one.
Yeah. Explorers of Ixalan made that too cheap, but here's the deal. Those copies going to dry up.
And then who you got? Sold a lot of those on TCG Player over the past
because the cards roll good. It's a vampire, which is super relevant now because they keep giving us good new vampires. Plus, it's just hey, this is really good because it says whenever a creature deals combat damage, put that many 1/1 counters on it. So it's all your creatures just get huge, and then you can double the number of counters that go on stuff, and then you can... I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things I've been doing with those is I put them on the site at $1.99 with free shipping, because you can't order from a specific seller unless you have $2 worth of items in your cart from that seller.
So they have to buy something else, and that's great bait.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Except shout out to that one dude who like kept buying one Necropolis Regent and one Doomblade from me on the site. Shout out to that guy.
That dude.
All
right.
I've got a... Corbin said we're not going to do a guessing game, so I'm going to do a guessing game. It's a blue common creature from Lorwyn and then Modern Masters.
This is pick of the week. You know that, right?
Yep. I know. Corbin said we're not going to do it. So
a blue common creature?
Yep.
Is it a merfolk?
Nope.
I'm out.
Lorwyn.
Yep.
Spellstutter Sprite.
There you go. I knew Corbin would get it.
That was Lorwyn? I thought that was...
Lorwyn.
Spellstutter Sprite was Lorwyn. Lorwyn,
The card's good.
Modern Masters.
I just
also
remember
had a
everyone
FNM promo.
tried to build fairies when Lorwyn came out, and the deck had like pepper smoke and shit in it. It was just really terrible.
Pepper Smoke was pretty solid, man.
I mean,
That's a
sure.
pauper card too.
Everything's a pauper card.
That's how I feel too.
Necropolis Regent's a pauper card. It's better than anything I've seen played in pauper. Yeah.
Spellstarter Sprite's $1. I mean, like, Gush has gone to 5. Delver's crept up a little bit. It hasn't quite reached 2, but I think it will. And Spellstarter Sprite's just another card that I consistently sell a ton of at $1. And it's getting harder for me to get them back in stock, so I expect to be selling them at $1.50 or $2 sometime soon.
Boom. Got it.
All right. Stybs, you want in on this, or did we bore you to sleep already?
No, I got a pick of the week.
I'm ready.
All right, so stop me if you guys talked about it like last week, and I'm just like not in the know.
I'll say it was last week, but apparently it was probably a year ago.
I guarantee it's not a year ago. It can only be in the past like month. A card I really like is Wayward Swordtooth. So I'm gonna hit you with some facts. Mina
Swordtooth
I
facts.
hate those. Unsubscribe.
Swordtooth. You hate them? You hate facts?
I hate facts. /unsubscribe.
Oh, too bad. Anyway, so playing an additional land every turn is a pretty good effect. Like Oracle of Moldiah is just still infinite dollars, and obviously it's a very powerful effect because like you get to basically play a land off the top of your library. It's very good. And Sawtooth isn't that. So, I kind of looked at cards that were similar. Like, hey, what are other cards that we've gotten recently that you can play an extra land every turn? And so there's like Mina and Den Wildborn, which is a legendary. It's 2 colors.
Bulk rare.
Yeah, it's a bulk rare. It started at $2.50 and it quickly plummeted within a month to 50 cents, and it's just been there since Oath of the Gatewatch has been out forever. Wayward Sawtooth, just for a comparison.
Swordtooth.
Swordtooth.
Sorry, there's like a Sawtooth
Shawshank
dinosaur.
There are saw teeth and there are sword teeth, and you gotta just figure out what kind of implement you're talking about.
Yeah,
a saw is a tool, a sword is a weapon. So what is this? Is it a weapon or a tool?
It's swords.
It's just a tool.
Swordtooth. Started at 5, and now it's down to a little over $2.50. It's one of those things where, because it's monocolored, it's just going to be able to fit in more decks. It's cheaper, so easier to play with. And it's actually just a bigger, better creature in Commander than having, a 4/4 for 4.
A 5/5 that can never attack or block. Yeah.
I mean, you probably
It's
will.
Commander.
I know. Getting City's Blessing is super easy, especially if you're playing extra
but you're
lands.
not playing it for the 5/5 effect. You're playing it because you get to play extra lands effect. And I think that's what makes this kind of flavor stand out, is that the supply should continue to go up for a little bit longer, but then we're switching hard to Dominaria, and we're going to be done opening these packs. And
no one's going to care about this stupid dinosaur set.
a month in, not being a centerpiece of a specific competitive standard deck, and it's still holding its price, tells me that this is the kind of card that's going to, be a commander card, in quotation marks, and kind of like carry itself forward.
I definitely think it's going to go...
non-mythic rares can...
Well, I definitely think it's going to go lower, but that doesn't mean it's not going to bounce back.
My one... I don't want to say hedge against this card, but you have to look at this card next to Ramanop Excavator, which that did have a draft weekend promo. I'm not saying that card is a bad spec, but Ramanop Excavator is probably played in more decks as a replacement for Crucible of the Worlds, and that card's still $1.50.
Yeah.
That is sadly true.
I don't like Wayward Swordtooth at $2.50. I like it a little cheaper, maybe at $2.30.
I mean,
because his teeth are swords, so his teeth hurt because they're swords.
Yeah,
$2.30.
The difference is Excavator and Swordtooth play different roles. And,
I agree.
I think Excavator is a great substitute for, it's great redundancy for Crucible Worlds. It's just a really, really rare effect. I think Wayward Swordtooth is the best flavor of the you get to play an extra land every turn effect since Oracle Moldiah. And I think it just plays differently.
I will also note that using my newfound metric, Rumneck Excavator has converging lines. So that card seems to have bottomed out. Also, the median on it hasn't changed in several months. So I think that card has bottomed out while we're on the subject, because it is very, very good in Commander.
It's only a $7 foil.
For the Swordtooth or the pack foil?
Swordtooth is
Excavator.
a $6 foil, essentially. It's pretty good.
Excavator's like a $6 foil, except for the Giraffe Weekend promo.
Right.
That's like dirt cheap.
There you go. I mean, it will be interesting to look back.
I'm sorry. Are we boring you with our picks?
As we get more of these type of effects moving forward, it would be interesting in an article or something, a year from now, to look back at some of these and basically look at Mina and Den, look at Rumneck Excavator, look at Wayward Swordtooth, and if any of them, if they all go down to bulk, then they go down to bulk, right? And you learn something from that. But if any of them perform better than the others, you can look for the reasons and use that, moving forward. Like the fact that Swordtooth costs 3 as opposed to Mina and Den costing 4 and being one color. I'm very interested to find out if those things actually matter to its price long term, because it seems like they could.
They could.
Or it's possible that just in this era, no cards can be worth anything if they're rares and just Commander cards.
Yeah,
it takes 5 years. But
Commander's not really going to move non-mythic rares.
At least in the short term. I mean, we do see it that they do 5 years later. Sometimes even just 3 years later. But either way, I think there's a lot of interesting data to be pulled from that over the next, 12 months or so.
Playing extra lands is good, though. Ryan was a big fan of Burgunging on this podcast.
Is that how he pronounced it?
Yeah, he called it Burgunging. I don't know if he said it on the cast or just said it to me in passing, and I never forgot that.
Man,
but
that's great.
The best Marcellism I've ever heard came from Ryan, actually. I'm like, you mean burgeoning? And he's like, is that how that's pronounced? And I know that if someone says something dumb like that, you're not supposed to make fun of them because that means they read it as opposed to hearing someone say
nice.
it.
Well, that doesn't even mean anything now because.
But then he said Burgunging, and I abandoned that policy.
All right.
Can't make fun of me. I read that. I'm like, did you read it or did you just slam your penis against your keyboard and Burgunging? Right. I miss Ryan already. That was we actually got some Twitter responses. I was like, hey, do you have any questions for the podcast? And I meant send us an email, but everyone was like, meh. And one of the questions we got, how's Ryan doing? I wouldn't know. Feels like it's been forever.
I saw
sure,
Ryan
probably
a month
has.
ago. Ryan's great.
AKA fuck you, Jason. Okay, so that was from
Ryan.
Nick
Looks like
Miller.
Ryan looks like his hippie self, shambling along, doing his thing.
He grows hair out. If you had to pick an over-under on the number of times Corbin eats at Buffalo Wild Wings, what would it be? I think our response is there is no under.
Or a month.
It just said the number of times.
Oh, in my life. Oh, man.
There is no under.
Yeah.
There is no under.
Well, the guy tweeted that, Keith Lambert, I'm not going to give you his address because I'm not DJ. He said, also, we need an episode of your best/worst collection buys and random game shop finds. I think that's
some
good
after hours
topic.
content.
Yeah, that's a good after hours or brain bites or something like that.
I think the Box of Shame would be a really good episode, actually. The rest of the good finds seem good brain bites sort of material, but...
Yeah, well... I think people want to hear our bad beats more than they want to hear us jerk
people want to hear us
off.
suffer.
Yeah. Speaking of ways to make us suffer, I will throw this out there now. We are doing YouTube, as you might have heard. We have Brain Bites, which are these really cool extra segments. However, what we do not have is cool title cards for our YouTube videos. And I think we get hurt in the algorithms and all that good stuff because we just have the same boilerplate thing, just regardless of the content inside. And that kind of sucks. So if you are an aspiring graphic designer who likes to work for very cheap, let us know.
We could break you off a non-zero amount of Patreon money, but if you start getting paid more than me, I will get pissed off.
It's not going to be hard.
Like more than exposure, but less than like full-time job graphic. somewhere in that.
We'll see when Squatty Potty comes through what we can do. But if you are someone who's interested, I can't imagine it's hard to make 2 thumbnails a week for us. So if you want to, get in with us, get some good words put in for whatever magic job you want to apply for next, we're happy to be your stepping stone. But yeah, let us know if you're interested. All right, anything else you guys want to touch on? I like how Corbin
mentioned that as if like the person who does this is going to do it until the cast dies within the next year, and then they get to move on to something better.
Right. Well,
this cast will never die. I will limp on with 2 other people. I don't even need you.
Jason will be doing this cast with his daughter in like 10 years.
Yep. That would be... I don't even want to think about kids growing up, actually. That's just a...
As opposed to doing it with someone as mature as my daughter now, plus DJ.
Anyways, anything else you guys want to say before we get out of here? All right. Stybs, thanks for coming on, man. Where can people find you in the world of magic?
They probably can't anymore, let's be honest.
Come on.
I'm on Twitter. People like to yell at me as the_Stybs. They really like yelling at me about my Pauper Cube, apparently. They want information. Who knew? Sometimes I write things on TCG Player. Sometimes I write stuff on the Mothership. We had a Merfolk and Pirate duet the other week.
That was fun.
That was fun. Totally coincidental. Thanks, Blake. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on, man. It was great. And everyone else, thanks for sticking with us. And we will see you next week when hopefully we have some really nice poop-related details to share. But we'll see what happens. Thanks for listening, everyone. This is Brainstorm Brewery, and we'll see you next time.